The silent void. The galaxy was burning in endless war. Alien empires clashed against each other, and smaller races were crushed under the weight of greater powers. In the middle of this chaos, humanity was seen as weak, scattered, and unimportant. To the galaxy, humans were only a minor species, useful only for labor or as mercenaries. They were not feared. They were not respected. But in the darkness beyond the main war front, something was moving. A shadow drifted silently near an asteroid field. No alien ship dared to enter that region, because their scouts always disappeared. Without a trace, rumors began to spread across fleets, whispers carried by frightened officers. They spoke of strange signals, distorted energy bursts, and ghostly images on sensors. Some called it the phantom of the void. Others said it was only broken equipment. But there were those who remembered the old stories. The stories of a warship that humanity once built long ago. A warship so powerful that even the Council of Empires feared its existence. They believed it was destroyed, buried in forgotten battles of the past. But legends never truly die, and in the silence of the void that legend waited. The alien fleets surrounding the war front began to grow uneasy. Their commanders received strange reports. Patrols that went out never returned. Energy readings spiked and vanished within seconds. Some officers demanded immediate investigation, but others warned it was dangerous. The void held secrets older than empires, and none of them wanted to wake it. Far away, on a council battleship, Admiral Varric studied the reports with cold eyes. He was a veteran of countless wars, a commander who once laughed at human weakness. Yet something in these new reports unsettled him. The signals did not match any known technology. They were sharp, precise, and deliberate. It was as if something was testing the galaxy, watching, waiting. Send another patrol, Varric ordered. His voice was calm, but his clawed hands gripped the table with unease. The officers obeyed, launching ships into the void. Hours passed. No response came back. Only static echoed across the comms. Varric's jaw tightened. He turned to his staff. There is something out there, and it is not a ghost. On the outer edges of the asteroid field, small alien ships drifted nervously. Their sensors flickered as they scanned the darkness. "One," pilot whispered over the comms. "I see something, a shadow, massive." The signal cut off instantly. Silence followed. The squadron leader shouted commands, but nothing answered. His screen only showed static. The council fleets gathered in fear. More and more commanders reported the same thing. A dark shape moving between asteroids, energy signatures spiking, then fading. It was not attacking, but it was not hiding either. It was watching them. The soldiers felt it deep in their bones. Something ancient had awakened. Meanwhile, across human colonies, whispers of the old legend began to rise again. The lost warship, the pride of Earth's forgotten fleets built in secret and hidden away when humanity faced near extinction. Some said it was destroyed, others said it was abandoned, but the sudden signals made many believe it still existed. In one hidden base, an old human officer named Commander Ryan stared at the reports. His face was pale, his voice heavy. "It is awake," he whispered. The younger officers looked at him in confusion. He explained, "Before you were born, before even your fathers were born, Earth created a ship unlike any other. It was said to carry weapons that could shatter fleets, but it disappeared. Many thought it was lost forever, but these signals, these readings, they are from that ship." The younger officer swallowed nervously. "If that is true, then why is it waking now?" Ryan's eyes darkened. "Because the galaxy has pushed humanity too far." Back in the void, the dark shadow finally stirred. Hidden engines rumbled softly, shaking the asteroids around it. The ship had been silent for centuries, but its systems still remembered war. Lights flickered along its hull, revealing ancient Terran markings. Its name was etched deep into the steel, though no alien had ever seen it. For those who would, the sight alone would freeze their blood. A low hum spread across the battlefield as the ship began to power its core. Alien fleets detected the surge and panicked. Some tried to retreat, others tried to gather reinforcements, but fear was already Spreading faster than orders, Admiral Varric slammed his fist on the console. His voice roared across the Council fleet. Find it, destroy it, or we are all finished. But deep inside, he already knew the truth. This was no ordinary enemy. This was the shadow of humanity's wrath. The void was no longer silent. Something ancient had returned, and the galaxy was about to change forever. The forgotten legend. The Council gathered in their shining chambers, a place where every empire displayed its banners and pride. Yet, the room was heavy with unease. Reports of the shadow ship spread like wildfire. Commanders argued, ambassadors shouted. Some said it was human trickery. Others whispered of ancient weapons. For the first time in centuries, the Council did not laugh at human rumors. An elder alien stood, his voice trembling. He was of the Veil species, known for memory and long records. I have read of this ship, he declared. The chamber fell. Silent, he continued. Long before our empires rose to power, humanity built something dangerous. They called it the Sentinel, a warship born not only of steel but of desperation. Gasps echoed. The word carried weight. Sentinel was not just a name. It was a warning. The elders' eyes glowed dimly. When humanity was nearly wiped out in their first wars against the Council, they poured everything into one ship. It was not meant to win battles, it was meant to make the galaxy fear them. Admiral Varric clenched his jaw. He remembered fragments of the story, dismissed as human exaggeration. But now, the strange signals matched the old data. His claws tapped the table. If this sentinel has truly awakened, then every empire is at risk. Meanwhile, deep inside the asteroid field, the sentinel stirred further. Ancient systems clicked into life. Screens lit up, engines pulsed. Its artificial intelligence hummed like an old soldier remembering battles. But what surprised the galaxy was not the ship itself. It was the crew. Generations had passed since the ship was hidden, but humans had survived aboard it. Children grew into officers. Families turned into clans. They lived in the belly of the beast raised by the mission to protect Earth should the day come. Their blood carried the memory of sacrifice, and their hearts carried the fire of defiance. At the center of the command deck stood Captain Alara, a descendant of the first crew. Her eyes were sharp, her voice steady. The galaxy has forgotten us, but we have not forgotten Earth, she said. Her crew answered with a vow that echoed through the ship. We are the shield. We are the blade. We are humanity's wrath. The Sentinel's sensors stretched across the void, watching alien fleets, calculating strategies. It did not move recklessly, it waited, patient like a predator. Every signal it sent was a test. Every hum of its core was a reminder. Humanity was no longer silent. Back on a Council carrier, panic spread among younger officers. If humans truly control this ship, then our fleets cannot stop them, one whispered. Varric silenced them with a glare, but his own fear gnawed inside him. He knew history. He knew the Council had mocked humans once, calling them fragile apes. But what if those apes had built a monster to outlast time? Among human colonies, the news spread fast. At first it was whispers, then it became shouts of hope. Many humans had lived under alien control for too long, forced to obey orders and laws not their own. Now they looked at the sky with pride, believing the legend had returned. The Sentinel is with us, they said, and no empire will chain us again. The galaxy's balance was shifting. Races that once ignored humans began to send secret messages. Some wanted alliance, some wanted safety. All feared the ship. Even the strongest empires, who once crushed human fleets easily, now hesitated. One night, as the Sentinel drifted in the void, Captain Alara stood on the bridge, staring into the endless dark. Her second officer approached. Do we reveal ourselves fully, or do we remain a shadow, he asked. Alara's lips curved into a grim smile. Let them fear the unknown a little longer. Fear is the first step to respect. And so the legend grew. The Council searched for answers, but none were found. Every patrol vanished. Every probe was swallowed by silence. The Sentinel was not just a warship, it was a phantom of humanity's will. The galaxy trembled, not from battle, but from memory. For every empire now remembered the warning carved into history. If the human warship ever returns, the stars themselves will bow or burn. The void waited, the sentinel watched, and destiny whispered that nothing would ever be the same again. The awakening. The sentinel slept for centuries, its heart silent, its guns cold. Yet deep inside, the ancient ship remembered. It remembered the screams of Earth when alien fire burned human cities. It remembered the voices of its first crew who swore never to surrender. It remembered the oath carved into its core. Humanity will endure. Now, as the galaxy tore itself apart in endless war, the ship stirred. The void around the asteroid field trembled. Energy flowed through forgotten circuits. Lights flickered across the hull. Engines growled softly like a beast waking from hibernation. On the bridge, Captain Alara stood with her crew. The glow of old consoles reflected in their determined eyes. For generations, her people lived within these steel walls. They trained, they waited, they whispered stories of the day the ship would rise again. That day had come. Systems online, the chief engineer reported, his voice carrying awe. Weapons waking, reactors stable, core at 60%. The deck hummed with energy. Ancient machines obeyed as if time itself had bowed to the human will. Alara placed her hand on the command rail. Her voice was calm, but the weight of centuries echoed in her tone. For too long, the galaxy has treated our people as weak tonight. They will see the truth. Outside, alien fleets circled nervously. Their sensors screamed as massive energy spikes rose from the asteroid field. Pilots shouted warnings. Admirals barked desperate orders. Some ships retreated. Others held position, but none could ignore the shadow. Then, with a roar that shook the stars, the sentinel revealed itself. The asteroids shifted, aside as thrusters pushed the giant vessel forward. Its black hull reflected no light, only darkness. Along its side glowed the old Terran symbol, a mark every human recognized. Gasps echoed across human colonies as the image spread through intercepted signals. The sentinel was real, alive, and awake. Alien commanders panicked. "Fire everything," one screamed. Fleets launched waves of missiles, beams, and plasma bolts into the void. Explosions lit up space like burning suns. Yet when the smoke cleared, the warship stood untouched. Its shields shimmered, absorbing the fury of thousands of weapons. On the bridge of the Sentinel, alarms blinked, but Alara did not flinch. "Return. Fire," she ordered. The crew obeyed with steady hands. Ancient cannons rotated, glowing brighter than stars. Then, a single shot tore through the darkness. The alien flagship vanished in a burst of fire. The battlefield froze. Silence fell across comms. No one had seen a weapon like it before. It was not only power, it was precision. One strike, one death. The Council fleets trembled. Admiral Varric watched from his carrier, his eyes wide, his voice shaking. Impossible. No ship should hold that kind of fire. Yet his heart whispered the truth. This was the Sentinel, the warship that should never have existed, and now it had awakened inside the Sentinel. The AI's voice filled the bridge. It was calm, ancient, steady. Directive confirmed. Protect humanity. Eliminate threats. Ensure survival. The crew straightened at the sound. They were not just men and women on a ship. They were part of something greater. On human colonies, cheers erupted. People who had been broken by centuries of alien domination raised their fists to the sky. They saw hope for the first time in generations. Mothers whispered to their children. "Look, the Sentinel guards us," fathers swore. "No one will chain us again." The Council scrambled, sending emergency messages to every empire. "The human ship is alive," they warned. "Prepare for war." But fear already cracked their unity. Some demanded peace, others called for destruction. Their voices clashed louder than their weapons. Back on the Sentinel, Captain Alara gave her final command for the night. "We move forward," she said. Her crew nodded. The engines roared to full strength. The shadow warship glided into the battlefield. unstoppable, unbroken, unseen for centuries, yet more alive than ever. The galaxy had witnessed the awakening, and every race now knew the same truth. Humanity was not finished. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had risen from the shadows with fire in its hands, and nothing in the war would ever be the same again. Fear across the stars. The news of the Sentinels' awakening spread like fire across the galaxy. Every empire, every fleet, every council chamber echoed with fear. The images of the massive Terran warship cutting through the flagship of an alien fleet were replayed again and again. None could deny it now. The legend was real on a distant worlds. Common people whispered in markets and streets. "The humans have returned," one said. "Their warship will destroy us all," another muttered. Yet among humans scattered under alien rule, whispers turned into pride. "We are not slaves anymore," they cried. "We are not weak." The council held an emergency meeting. Their leaders sat in a grand circular hall, banners of alien empires glowing with holographic light. But the voices were not steady. They were trembling. One ambassador shouted, "The humans cannot be allowed to wield such a ship." Another roared back, "Then destroy it before it destroys us." Admiral Varric stood in the chamber, his scales reflecting cold light. "Fools," he growled. "You saw what that ship did with a single shot. If we send fleets against it, we will only lose faster." The chamber erupted into chaos. Some demanded alliance with humans, others demanded war. Fear was splitting the council apart. Meanwhile, the Sentinel moved silently through the void. Its engines burned softly, its dark hull reflecting nothing but shadows. On the bridge, Captain Ilara watched the streams of intercepted messages from alien worlds. She read their panic, their fear, and she understood its power. "They fear us more than they ever respected us," her second officer said. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Then let fear work in our favor." But inside her heart, she carried another thought. The Sentinel was powerful, yes, but humanity was still fragile. Colonies were small, fleets were scattered. Without the ship, humans were still vulnerable. Ilara knew the galaxy might turn all its fury toward her people. She could not let that happen. On alien homeworlds, rulers faced riots. Some of their people demanded peace with humanity. Others demanded destruction. Entire empires began to fracture under the weight of uncertainty. Soldiers refused to march against humans. Merchants refused to trade with council fleets. Fear had become poison. Varric returned to his carrier, his mind heavy. He looked at the stars, remembering the countless times he mocked humans as weak creatures. Yet now the thought of facing the Sentinel froze even his battle-hardened heart. "They will not bow to us," he whispered. "They will make us bow." Across human colonies, the story of the Sentinel spread like a sacred song. Children drew its image in the dirt. Old soldiers wept with pride. In the shadows of alien cities, human slaves lifted their heads higher. Their masters noticed. They noticed the change. They noticed the fire. The galaxy itself was trembling. Empires that once ruled without question now questioned everything. Their fleets gathered nervously. Their commanders hesitated to give orders. Every eye in the stars turned to the dark silhouette of the warship. On the Sentinel's bridge, the AI spoke again, its voice calm and eternal. "Fear is a weapon. Use it, shape it, command it." The crew nodded. For them, fear was not weakness, it was power. Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady. "We do not need to fight every fleet. We only need them to believe they cannot fight us." She turned to her crew. "Let the galaxy's fear spread faster than our weapons." And so the warship continued its silent march. It did not fire again that day. It did not destroy fleets or burn worlds. Yet its presence alone shattered armies. Its shadow broke alliances. Its silence was louder than any cannon. The Sentinel had awakened. But what truly shook the galaxy was not the blast of its weapons. It was the realization that humans had never been broken. They had only been waiting. The galaxy's fear was now the humans' greatest ally, and in the silence of the stars, the balance of power began to shift forever. The shattered council. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was once a place of order, where empires spoke with authority and judged weaker races without hesitation. Now it was filled with chaos. The banners of mighty civilizations still hung from the walls, but their leaders shouted over one another, their voices cracking with fear. "The humans must be destroyed," one ambassador roared, his tendrils slamming against the table. "That ship will burn us all." Another leader, with silver feathers rising in agitation, shrieked back, "Destroyed? How? Did you not see what a single blast did to the flagship? We cannot fight that. We must negotiate." Admiral Varric stood silent at first, watching the argument spiral into madness. His cold eyes scanned the room. He had fought humans before. He had seen their desperation. But now he had seen something greater. Not desperation, but confidence. Finally he spoke, his voice cutting through the noise. "You all argue like frightened hatchlings. The truth is simple. If that warship belongs to the humans, then the balance of power is broken. No fleet among us can stand against it." The chamber fell into a tense hush. Leaders shifted nervously. Some looked down at the table, unable to meet his eyes. One counselor whispered, "Then we must unite before it is too late." Another snapped, "Unite? With whom? With the very humans we enslaved and mocked for centuries." The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. Every leader knew the truth. Humanity had been underestimated. Humanity had been broken but not destroyed. And now they had risen from the shadows with a weapon none could match. On the Sentinel's bridge, Captain Alara studied the Council transmissions. The intercepted feeds filled her screen, showing frightened faces. She allowed herself a small smile. "They are arguing instead of acting good," she said. Her second officer frowned. "But if they unite, we will face their combined fury." Alara shook her head. "They will not unite. Fear divides. It always divides." Across the galaxy, smaller races who had lived in silence under Council oppression began to stir. They sent secret messages to human colonies. Some offered resources, others offered soldiers. For them, the Sentinel was not only a weapon, it was a symbol. A chance to break chains that had lasted for generations. One message came from a race long forgotten. Their leader whispered over a hidden channel, "We once fought beside your kind. We will fight beside you again." Ilara listened in silence. She knew this was only the beginning. Humanity was no longer alone. Back in the Council chamber, fear turned into open cracks. Empires accused one another of weakness. One shouted, "You will betray us to the humans." Another snapped, "Perhaps. They are already allied with them." The chamber dissolved into chaos. Their unity was shattered. At that moment, a signal broke into their communications. Every screen turned black. Then white letters appeared. It was a human message, simple and direct. The voice that followed was calm, firm, and carried across every star system. "We do not seek war, but we will never kneel again," the voice declared. "We will not obey your counsel. We will not serve your empires. We will not bow. If you come for us, you will face the Sentinel, and you will lose." The chamber fell silent. Leaders froze in shock. Some trembled in anger, others in fear. None spoke. They all knew the warning was real. They all knew the Sentinel had already proved its power. Admiral Varric lowered his head. His voice was almost a whisper. "The humans have drawn their line. We either respect it or we fall before it." And in that moment, the great Galactic Council, once proud and united, was broken. It was no longer the humans who looked weak. It was the empires of the galaxy divided by fear. The Sentinel floated silently in the void, but its presence alone had shattered the order of the stars. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The wrath of humanity. Galaxy had seen the Sentinel, but it had not yet felt its fury. That would soon change. The Council, broken and desperate, pushed fleets into the void. They thought numbers would succeed where unity had failed. Hundreds of ships moved together, their weapons armed, their commanders screaming orders through shaky voices. The goal was simple: surround the human warship and crush it before the humans could rise further. But the Sentinel was not afraid. It had waited for centuries and it knew how to fight. On the bridge, Captain Ilara stood firm, her eyes locked on the incoming armada. Her crew was steady, their voices sharp and focused. The AI spoke with calm authority. Targets acquired. Probability of enemy victory, 0.001%. The first wave came fast. Alien destroyers launched volleys of plasma. Beams of light and fire cut through the void. The Sentinel's shields absorbed the storm, shimmering like a living wall. Then Ilara gave the order, return fire. The warship unleashed its wrath. Beams brighter than suns ripped across the battlefield. One shot, one ship. Entire cruisers were reduced to dust. Alien pilots screamed over the comms, their fear spreading faster than their weapons. The second wave collapsed before it could even reach firing range. From his carrier, Admiral Varric watched in horror. His fleet, the pride of the Council, was being torn apart like paper. His officers begged for orders, but his throat was dry. He could not speak. He could only watch as the legend destroyed everything he thought unshakable. Inside the Sentinel, the crew worked in perfect rhythm. Generations of training came alive. Hands danced over consoles. Voices called out ranges and locks. The AI and humans fought as one mind, one will. It was not only a ship, it was a living. Storm 1 alien dreadnought tried to break through, its guns blazing. The Sentinel shifted, its massive cannon charging. With a single thunderous blast, the dreadnought vanished, leaving only wreckage and silence. The message was clear. No empire's greatest weapon could stand against humanity's shadow. Across human colonies, the battle was streamed through hidden channels. People watched with wide eyes and clenched fists. Tears rolled down the faces of those who had once been slaves. Mothers held their children and whispered, "Look, this is why we endure." Fathers raised their voices. The galaxy will never break us again. But the Sentinel's wrath was not blind. Ilara gave precise orders. They struck only the fleets that came to destroy. They left broken ships to retreat, spreading tales of terror. "Let them carry our warning," Ilara said. "Fear will do the rest." The Council tried one last desperate strike. They unleashed their superweapon, a massive cannon hidden in the depths of a moon. It fired a beam strong enough to tear continents apart. The Sentinel did not move, its shields flared white, the void itself shook. But when the light faded, the ship remained untouched, unstoppable. Gasps echoed across alien fleets. Hope shattered. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Officers abandoned their posts. The will to fight was gone. The Sentinel did not just crush fleets. It crushed the spirit of empires. On the bridge of his carrier, Admiral Varric finally spoke. His voice was broken. "We cannot fight them. We cannot win. The humans will not bow. They will rule." His words spread through his fleet, and with them came surrender. Ilara stood at the front of the command deck, her voice calm but strong. "The galaxy now understands what they forced us to become. We did not ask for war, but we will end it if they bring it to us." Her crew answered as one. For Earth, for humanity, the Sentinel's wrath had been unleashed, and the galaxy trembled. Empires that once stood eternal were broken, their fleets shattered, their courage gone. Humanity had risen with fire in its hands, but this was not the end. The warship now turned its course toward the heart of the Council, toward the world where the galaxy's rulers once laughed at humans. The Sentinel would arrive soon, and with it, judgment. A new order. The Sentinel moved through the stars like a silent storm. Alien fleets no longer chased it. They only watched from a distance, broken and afraid. The galaxy held its breath as the great human warship set its course for the Council's capital, the shining world where rulers once mocked humanity. The planet was ringed with defenses, thousands of ships, stations, and planetary cannons. It was said no enemy could ever reach its skies. Yet as the shadow of the Sentinel appeared, fear spread like wildfire. Some fleets powered down without orders. Some commanders simply fled. The legend had become stronger than their courage. On the bridge, Captain Ilara stood calm. Her crew waited for her command, their hearts heavy with centuries of memory. They knew this moment would shape the future of every human and every alien. Today, she said, her voice echoing across the deck, the galaxy will listen to us whether they want to or not. The AI's voice hummed steady. Weapons primed, defenses mapped. Probability of enemy resistance collapsing 98%. The numbers did not surprise anyone. The warship's shadow alone had already defeated the will of empires. Inside the council chamber, panic reigned. Leaders screamed into their comms, demanding fleets to fight. Yet the fleets would not move. Soldiers refused to fire. Officers whispered the same words. It is the Sentinel. We cannot win. Then the warship arrived. Its massive form blotting out the light of nearby suns. It hovered above the capital. Silent, motionless, its cannons glowed, but it did not fire. The silence was heavier than destruction. A message cut into every comm channel, every broadcast, every planet. The voice was human, calm and steady. It was Captain Ilara. Her words, carried not just through sound but through the weight of history. For too long humanity has been treated as weak. For too long you have ruled us with chains and arrogance. That ends today, she declared. We do not seek to rule your empires, but we will not live as slaves. We will not kneel before your council. We will not be silent. We will live free. The galaxy listened. From great empires to small colonies, from soldiers to slaves, every word echoed through their hearts. Some felt fear, others felt hope, but none could ignore it. On the bridge of the Sentinel, Ilara raised her hand. The ship charged its main cannon, the glow brighter than a sun. It aimed at the council's greatest defense station. The leaders inside the chamber cried out, begging, shouting, cursing. The cannon roared, and the station vanished in a wave of fire. Then silence returned. Ilara's voice followed, cold and final. This is our proof. The Sentinel will not destroy you unless you force it. But if you bring war to humanity again, you will see not one world burn, but many. The message spread faster than light. Empires that once laughed at humans now sent envoys begging for peace. Some offered alliances, others offered tribute. The council itself fractured, many of its members abandoning their posts, none daring to defy the humans. Across the galaxy, smaller races rose up inspired by the human stand. Chains were broken, banners of rebellion lifted, and everywhere the Sentinel was named not just as a ship, but as a symbol. The shadow of humanity, the promise of survival, the warning of wrath. On human colonies, tears and cheers filled the streets. Families held one another. Their people had endured humiliation, slavery, and mockery, but now they stood free. Children learned a new lesson from their parents. Never again will humans bow. Admiral Varric, once a proud enemy, stood in silence aboard his carrier. He watched the warship vanish once more into the void. His claws trembled as he whispered, "The galaxy belongs to them now, not through conquest, but through fear and through respect." The Sentinel did not stay. It did not conquer. It drifted back into the shadows from where it had come, silent, watchful, eternal. The galaxy never knew when it would appear again, but they all knew it could. And that knowledge alone changed everything. From that day forward, no one mocked humanity. No one called them weak. No one dared to enslave them, for the galaxy had learned a truth carved in fire and shadow. Humanity may fall, humanity may bleed, but humanity will always rise. And somewhere, in the silent void, the Sentinel waited, patient, eternal, ready to awaken again if the galaxy ever forgot.